Martine, Diane, Diane, are you here? My Diane friend in Wisconsin, because I specifically, Diane, wanted you to be here today. I was gonna send you, yeah. I, hey, Chloe, nice to see you there. Hi, everyone. Hey, Nat. Bonjour. Hi, Lori. Hi, everyone. So, welcome to Michigan. Now, I'm thrilled to have you all here. But the reason why, hey, Samuel, nice to see you. Hi, everyone. The reason why it's pretty icy and snowy and cold, by the way. But the reason why I specifically, hi, Robin Ann, specifically wanted to see my friend Diane here. We need some Bobsy. We do need some. Do you know, I was actually last night I was having a great conversation about the music traditions out here, and I'll be down. I'm not in Detroit at all. But the reason why I keep saying that I wanted to have Diane here is because if I stood on my tippy toes, Diane, if you stood on yours, we could wave to each other. Catherine, hey, everyone, that's Mummy. Oh, I'm giving away where I am here. It's, well, Christina, hello, welcome to Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you where I am. Hi, Mom. Look at this, everyone. This is where I am. I am in Traverse City, Michigan, ladies and gentlemen. So, how's that for a beautiful? It was pretty obvious that this is where I was going to start my tour. Yeah, right. So, I do have to put my gloves on. It's cold, everyone. So, if I were to stand on my tippy toes and look straight out on the bay, then, hey, Helen, then I would be looking right across. I'd have to look a little south, but I'd be looking right across to Green Bay, Wisconsin, where Diane is. So, we are out here on Lake Michigan, and aside from seeing it from the air, this is the first time in my life I've ever seen Lake Michigan. Yesterday, I was on Lake Huron. I was actually in Saginaw Bay. I put up a morning tour for Monday morning. Um, Hey, Daddy, nice to see you. I put up a tour on Monday morning because I want to take you for a walk around the bay. They're ice fishing. There was a tree I almost walked in. So I need to go show you the lake, and then I want to show you a little bit around here at Traverse City. So quick hello to everyone. If you haven't met me before, my name's Patrick, and I am not from here at all. I mean, at all. Although the climate's pretty similar to where I'm from. I obviously live in bound from the Canadian Rockies. I am here in Michigan, and I'm giving some talks at a university. They are they're at Saginaw Valley State University. So I gave a talk yesterday, and then I've got a whole week worth of talks that I'm doing. And lovely, friendly. Is that oh so kind? Thanks, Deborah. Um, just I'm having so much fun, and it's sort of for as much as I travel the world, it's kind of a place that I had never sort of been here, and it's so interesting because we've talked about automobiles. By the way, oh that's an eider duck out there. There were a couple of loons down here earlier today. Um, oh, that one was yeah, that's an eider. But there was a loon diving down here earlier. You're in Vicksburg, Michigan. So I flew in just the other day, and I flew into Detroit. Um, Jenny, I'm giving a whole bunch of talks. Believe it or not, I gave a talk yesterday on the Finnish educational system. I'm giving a talk on Monday on Ireland. I'm doing a Canadian history. So a whole bunch of different things. Um, and sorry, let me see. Sorry, MD, I missed that. Oh, sorry. I didn't. Hey, Dad, nice to see you here. I'm up here in Michigan. Oh, and I have to let me find a place where I can prop down the gimbal and yeah, and, but I need to come all the way out across here, and then I want to take you. So Traverse City, where I am here, is up on the Lake Michigan side, or the west side, of course, of the peninsula. So, you ready for this? Anyone who's Michigan. So, there's a map of Michigan. You see it? And so I'm over here right now, up here, and I'm staying though in Saginaw Bay. Um, right there, I know, and you learn this, right? And then there's the Upper Peninsula, and so there are four Great Lakes in Turtle Island in North America. Not five. That's because Lake Michigan is actually attached to Lake Huron, and Michigan itself is this fabulous peninsula right up. What I wasn't, and I probably should have known it, but I just didn't understand how flat Michigan is. Like, it is flat as a pancake, and of course it's big drainage area. Now, here where I am in Traverse City, this is a post-glacial environment out here, and so it's quite hilly. This is the the cherry capital of the United States, although I don't think a lot of cherries are growing at the moment. And I know Robert's here, so that's why I thought I'd bring you into a parking lot. But Traverse City, thanks, Martine. Do you know I actually had a tour group in the Canadian Maritimes a few years ago from here, from Traverse City. So I'm thrilled to come up here, and we're probably going to go have lunch at a vineyard or something. And so we drove right across the state today, and it's snowy and cold. Yesterday was freezing. It was 0 Fahrenheit or about 4 or something. Today it's more like 22 or 23 Fahrenheit, which is kind of fun to say because, of course, I'm a Celsius baby. But there's 10 million people in this state, and it's the largest state west of the Mississippi in terms of area. But it's a massive, interesting area today because it's a weekend. There were people snowmobiling all over the state. But yeah, over where I am in Saginaw Bay. Thank you, Carol. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm really thrilled to be here because again, it's lovely to be hosted and to be at a lovely, warm university. But I'm down in one of the bays here. There's so many French names. Sorry about the sound of traffic. But of course, this is Ojibwe country. So the Ojibwe, who are related linguistically to the Cree, of course, that go all the way up north into Ontario. No, Traverse now. Yeah, I'm staying in Saginaw, though, on the other side. That's why I say we drove right across. Look at the plow out there. But yeah, no, we're down in Traverse now. And this is this peninsula right out the middle here where there's 2 inlets. And that peninsula is really interesting because there's vineyards all the way out there. And so they have wine production here. I haven't actually, no, that's not true. I had a glass of wine yesterday, and it was yummy and quite sweet, actually, real white wines up from this area. But yeah, cherry production. I just want to go over and show you the lake just because it's so cool. I think, when you talk about the Great Lakes here in Turtle Island, here in North America, they truly are great, right? Like this, the headstand, they are massive, massive bodies of water. Only about 14% are iced over this year. Last year, apparently, Huron iced right over. So it was a very late approach to the year. Now, obviously, I've come here when it's really cold. Very, well, I don't, Peter, I would love to do that. I put up a Detroit one, but I'm actually being hosted. So I'm sort of going wherever people are taking me. So that's why I just put this up as basically a road trip. So tomorrow we're going out in the Thumb, and so we're gonna go out around that area. But today we drove right across here to Traverse City, and I just want to come out and show you some of the water. But this is a wealthy area, as I understand it, and it is just lovely. I really, really want to come back here now in the fall, and I will be helping at this university. We're helping to design a new course that I will be one of the instructors in. So that's going to be a neat thing to be doing as well. But yeah, it is flat. Look at this lovely little statue over here. So again, I'm used to giving a whole lot more history. Did you, Cindy? I'm used to giving a lot more history, but of course I'm reading here vigorously and asking lots of questions and having a great time. The people that are hosting me are academics at the university. One of the gentlemen is a historian by background, so we've had some great conversations. But see the ice just forming out here. Now those are looking, well, I don't know if they're loons or eiders out there, but it's lovely to see. Hey, Sharon. So so I'm down in Traverse Bay here, right? And Traverse, and it's so funny because I even have trouble saying Detroit because I want to say Detroit because this was all, of course, part of what was Greater New France. Lynn, it's pretty good, thank you. Yeah, I'm still feeling a bit of a cold, but I'm much better than I was. So, and I've not tested positive for COVID, so I don't mind. But yes, real francophone history. I believe Michigan was actually brought into the Union in 1837, of course, as a non-enslavement state. So that's quite significant. Oh, hi, Linda. Nice to have you here. But when you come out here and look at these incredible bodies of water, you can tell that winter just kind of appeared out of the blue here for the amount of leaves that are left on a lot of the trees. So I'm obviously seeing it in the very snowy periods. So we went clear across the state today. When I flew into Detroit, which, by the way, I had been to the airport previously, really nice airport, and then we drove north for about 2.25 hours or so. So I'm staying in Bay City on Saginaw Bay. And I'll tell you a story about Saginaw Bay when I'm there tomorrow because it means a lot to me staying there for a whole different personal story. But it's neat to be there. But yeah, I'm over here, and this is the first time I've ever walked along the edge of Lake Michigan itself. So if we were to hop straight across here, then you get in a bay way on the other side over in Wisconsin. You go into Green Bay, and that's where Diane is. So it's pretty neat to see. But look at this. I mean, it feels like ocean, of course. Look at this vast, vast system of water. Now, my friends here, the people that I'm with, are telling me that you do get a lot of gray skies, and of course these bodies of water create inversions on them in the winter. We had a lovely sunny day, but it is howling wind at me at the moment. Yeah, Diane, wave, wave, wave. Um, but just massive. Keep in mind, I always love to say there's actually 4 Great Lakes, not 5. And when I say that, that's because, of course, this lake is actually attached to Lake Huron. Um, the average depth is actually quite low when you get down to the Chicago end of it. But you want to see some just sheer beauty. I do want to show you around this gorgeous community as well. But I just want to come here and show you what a lake effect can look like. Yes, I heard Sudbury, Ontario, which is about right there. Sudbury yesterday was minus 48. Can you possibly imagine that humid effect? Um, oh, I don't even know that. So look at these steps. Now check this ice. So look at the steps down here. Um, Hi. Well, I'm so thrilled to be sharing a little bit of Michigan with people from all over because, as I say, I'm so used to kind of having a lot to say on my different tours, but this is very much my first visit here. Look at this fabulous ice formation down through here. So the average, do you know the highest point in the whole state is only like 600 and something meters, like 2,000 feet. You're born in Detroit. Yeah, so I can't wait. We've been plotting out a tour that I'll do in Detroit. So I'm looking so forward. And of course, the end of the week, I am going to the Detroit Red Wings against the Calgary Flames. So that's pretty exciting. Look at this. Hey, Patty, have a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. These are icicles. Can you imagine? Can you buy Susie? Can you imagine the wind? Like I am well dressed and I am shivering. Look at that, eh? So I think I'm going to take some of this ice home with me. Um, but this is just dramatic vandal, isn't it? Yeah. Well, it's all fresh water, right? So I was actually doing when I was sort of just getting ready to take you all on tour. I was doing some of the stats on Lake Michigan itself. So down at the south end towards Chicago, it's actually a very shallow lake. But up when you get out to the deep bay here, it actually is extremely deep. Well, a few hundred meters, so nearly 600 or 700 feet deep. Yeah, no. Well, it's so funny because obviously I live in a place with 8 months of snow, but I am without doubt colder here. Indisputably, I'm colder here. Minus 20 Fahrenheit. Yeah. So it's because I feel that kind of humid cold. It's very, very deciduous around. Um, the roads are excellent, but then that's what one would expect, of course, with the motor state. And it is interesting. So I had dinner over at a friend's house last night with their whole family, and their son is doing engineering, and he's actually looking at a career in the automobile industry. So I mean, it's exactly what you imagine. I will be in Windsor, and I will put up a tour in Windsor, I promise. But I just like this. It'd be interesting. The lake isn't frozen, Sue, because it literally winter came in late. So last year I was talking to a lady yesterday who does all the stats on it. In fact, texted me some of the stats, which are really cool. And there's only 14% ice coverage on the Great Lakes right now, whereas this time last year, Lake Huron was fully iced over. I don't know about Michigan, so that's it's quite an interesting thing. But but the early economy. So I will try and show you in Bay City some of the classic houses because we think, of course, automobile manufacturing and so forth historically in the state. I mean, it's obviously synonymous with it, and it led, of course, to free trade between Canada and the United States. I'm not wearing my shorts, David. But traditionally, the early economy, well, it was fur trade, of course, when the French came down and settled here. And then after 1776, this territory was ceded to the United States, and this became the Northwest Territories, which is funny to say as a Canadian because different Northwest Territories. And then, of course, achieved statehood and joined the Union with the United States there 1860s or 1837. But the early economy of the upper part of the state was lumber. And you actually see it, not right around here, but in Bay City where I'm staying, you see it reflected, that very distinct Victorian architecture, the bay windows. So very distinct style of the lumber baron period of time, which is really interesting. The distances, unfortunately, are a little bit hard for me to offer a lot of it as a walking tour. But what is fun in Bay City is now the river's already frozen, the Saginaw River, and people have all their shacks out, and they're ice fishing, of course. But let's go in and have a little look at Traverse City. So it calls itself the cherry capital, and there's obviously huge cherry production all through here in the summer months, and there's vineyards all over here. If you scan out on the map, that piece of land out there is actually a very thin peninsula. Thanks, Helen. It's a very thin peninsula, and there's bays either side of it. So again, all these classic French names, Traversée, all fur trade in the early days, and of course Hudson's Bay Company. But it is amazing for people from elsewhere in the world, and even from the west of our continent. Remember that here in North America now we refer to, rather than saying North America, we're trying to brand this idea. Thanks, Judy. This idea of Turtle Island, because of course there's more fresh water here in the middle of this continent than there's in every other continent on Earth put together. And it's all into these giant, of course, lakes. And that's why both southern Ontario is a peninsula unto itself, and this is a peninsula up in the north in and of itself. So it's a fabulous structure. Now, this is all post-glacial, all out through here. There's even a little ski hill around here somewhere. But this is kind of rolling hills. But because I drove over today, or we drove over, I'm with several people, and it's very, very kind of them to take me around in their own free time. But we drove up, exactly, Jen, drove across. It was just dead flat for the first hour and a half, and then a few rolling hills. But that's kind of it, and because it's this huge drainage base unto itself. Yeah, the Leelanau Peninsula is just up behind me, exactly. And so the plan is to go out to a vineyard. Look at that, Hélène, -36. Look at that. So the wind is now coming up from the south. So it's warmed up rather distinctly. I feel quite weak actually because, I live in one of the coldest places in the world, but I just find this humid cold really gets through to me here. Now, it's been interesting as well talking about some of the economics of the area because a lot of Michigan and upper Michigan has actually lost population over the years as this sort of the deindustrialization that's happening. Things seem to be working a bit better now. Cost of living, thanks, Ruth. Cost of living is amazing. Like compared to at home, cost of housing and everything is quite. It was very affordable by the kind of standards that I'd have. Although this place here, Traverse City, I guess, thanks, Sue and Candace. This is quite a high-end community, and I had heard of this before. The thing that I was talking about the ice wine. That's really fun. Of course, ice wine is really the Niagara Peninsula, but up here they would do it too. Oh, there's some lovely ducks down below, but I was enjoying a loon earlier, but these ones are. I think mallards always deserve extra credit because I think they have cool green heads. But let's wander on up into the sort of the main street of Traverse City. So it's interestingly for all the travel I've done around the world and around our continent here, I've spent so little time in kind of Midwest USA. If you've never heard of ice wine, Lynn, so there is a form of ice wine that comes from the Mosel, right down in like the German-French border. But the true ice wines come from the Niagara Peninsula, and that's when the cold comes in fast enough and it freezes the grapes, and it freezes them right, and it takes 10 times more grapes to extract any wine from them. That's why it's so expensive. Thanks, Denise. Have a little look here. So 1851. This is some of the Michigan Historic Site here. So we are putting together for Saginaw Valley State University, we're putting together a tourism course, and it'll probably be the first one taught in the state. So that's a pretty neat thing. Do try. So Inniskillin, I would say, my Ontario friends would know best. That's probably the most famous of the ice wines. Actually, of course, you're here. Hey, Julia, nice to see you here. So, so it will be really fun to put that together. But this is it was funny. I went into a shop here, and And they said, "Oh, where are you from?" And I said, "Oh, it's my first time here." And then they started showing me around the maps and telling me the history. It's really lovely. But look at this classic sort of, it's that interesting mix. So there's the old opera house in the city. And these was, the first boom was lumber. They are, Cindy. I mean, there's that famous line when you say, "Are people friendly in whatever city?" And you say, "Well, how did you find them in the last city?" So it's a little bit what you give out. But I think, people are like the hospitality I felt yesterday at the university, for example. I mean, just everybody's so warm, and they keep giving me gifts too. Like, I've got way too many like water bottles now. So, that part is really lovely and fun. So you will see, and you can tell that we're getting back into that lumber periods because you see these bay windows, right? And that, of course, is Victorian architecture, and that is really reflected through a lot of the architecture through here. I tell you what, when it's this cold, I kind of feel like going for one of these floats out here. I'm totally going to come back in the fall sometime because every picture I see of the fall colors are just spectacular. Um, so I'm totally going to have to come and enjoy that. So here's a bookstore. Now, I have to go into a few bookstores because I had a person on a tour in the Canadian Maritimes a few years ago from Traverse City, and they owned a bookstore. So I want to go see if I can find this person. So it's fun. This is looking at downtown back in the 1880s. Do you know, Kate, right now, today, and I wish I was staying the night, there's actually a comedy festival on. And so I just love live comedy, right? So there's Pure, Michigan. And there you get a little sense of the map of the state as well. So, real identity here. And you do see Red Wings flags all around for the hockey, of course. So, big, big hockey destination. So this is, we're just literally having the day here. And tomorrow I will do a tour out on the thumb somewhere. Yeah. Oh, so they salt all the roads down here. So it's the same thing as in Ontario. You never buy a car from the east because of all the salting. But yeah, that M22, I looked. It was nice shop. But as much as I ever look in a shop. For those of you who joined in a little late, just give you a little reminder of where we are right now. There we are. Thanks, Market, in Traverse City. Oh, is that right, Mark? I didn't know that. Do you know, at home last year we had the New York Rangers were in Banff because they came to do some altitude training as well, which is kind of fun. But yeah, sunglass place. But it is. I mean, it's all very the roads are great, is what you'd expect. It's funny, people were joking about telling me about all these potholes, but I've actually thought the infrastructure has been pretty excellent here. Thanks, Fiona. Sue, it's probably because it's so cold, honestly. It's well below freezing at the moment. I think it's 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So, it's about -10 Celsius. But actually, people are out and about in the shops. Now, there were tons of people out snowmobiling as we were going through the middle of the state. See, Cherry Republic. In fact, apparently that's a really good shop in there. But there is a wicked wind blowing right into my face just at the moment. Um, I, it's There used to be a restaurant called Gordie Howe's. Is that right? Yeah. So Gordie Howe. We were actually talking about Gordie Howe just the other day. So, but this is a fun little bit of history. Um, Gordie Howe. I didn't realize he was as controversial though as he was in terms of his relationship with his wife. So the 1890s out here. And of course, keep in mind to understand, and I've talked about this so much over the years, but to understand the history of North America or Turtle Island, if we want to understand about travel, it is first by water, then by train, then by car, and then by plane. And so the Great Lakes around here, you think there's great big Toronto up there, then there's Detroit, then there's Chicago. This is a huge, huge population center right here in the middle of this continent. And all of this water, of course, eventually is draining all the way out through the St. Lawrence system, right? And then you go a little further west and you start to get to the headwaters of the Mississippi system. So Louis Joliet was the first person ever to track all the way up the St. Lawrence. But here gives you a little sense. Look at this. There is Lake Michigan right there. So where I am right now is I'm up in this little bay up there. Thanks, Sarah. But then there's Chicago over, and there Diane is over in Green Bay, which, do you know, I have still not been to Wisconsin. But I know I'm going to be coming back here several times in my life because it's really neat to be, here and spending time with their university. And, it's a fun place to come and share with everyone. I'm glad to come in the winter because I'm a winter person, but boy oh boy, it would be really fun to come in the fall particularly. It really is about 80 or 90% deciduous, the forest through here. I saw a bit of pine in a few places where we climbed up and over, but really you do feel like you're in this peninsula out here, right? It's and this whole system of this massive amount of fresh water is just incredible. I hear this place has been here now. They've got all sorts of, like, this is a real lifestyle community. Clearly, Traverse City is about 15,000 people, but the greater area is about 150,000. Again, Michigan, when you do the stats on it, is 10 million people. My province of Alberta is only 4.5. Check out the old State Theater. I don't know, MB. It's yeah, we drove around Detroit and I arrived. It was already dark, so I really haven't had a sense of it yet. But I've already plotted out what I'd like to do as a tour. Um, the Sleeping Bear Dunes. Well, that's the plan, Kate. And I known about these dunes. So what Kate is referring to here is just out about 6 or 7 miles out of town. Here are these famous dunes, and you can actually sandboard on them. And so absolutely, the plan is to go out and have a look at them. It's just that it's honestly, Kate, really cold. And I love sand dunes. Somewhere I have a picture kicking around of being in them um, in Peru. But these are some of the best sand dunes, and a really fascinating ecosystem apparently because of all the nesting birds that come in a migratory period. Um, so we're gonna go out and probably have lunch at a vineyard just because that's what one does around here, of course. So it's just, and it's so nice to sit back. And obviously I've prepared presentations. I mean, I've taken this contract very seriously, but it's the fact that I've ended up with a weekend here and the freedom to look around and enjoy it is a pretty neat thing to be able to do. Let's just curve around. So by the way, there's an Orvis shop. Um, well, so yesterday, um, it's the fact I was talking yesterday. Sorry, this car has just turned the wrong way up the street. Let's go over and have a look at the bay. But no, the Finnish thing is because I was presenting to a group of educators yesterday, and they keep reading that Finland has the highest rated education system in the world, and so they were comparing that to standardized testing, which has become a big deal in the United States, and they don't use over in Finland. So anyway, it was an interesting conversation. And then that migrated on to all sorts of other models, and they were educators. Oh, there's a lovely one from all different levels. So, Kate, I think this is as far north as I'm going. I really wanted to go up to the Mackinac Straits now and see that huge bridge, but but you know, every one of these days ends up being quite a long drive. So I know we're doing the Thumb tomorrow, and then working all week, and then heading south to Detroit. So the only other one I am going to do for all of you though is I will for sure 100% do a little visit when I'm in Windsor, Ontario, because I'm going to fly home from Windsor. And I very intentionally booked that because I've never been to Windsor, Ontario. So I sort of felt like I needed to do that. But let's go up and I'll wait for the light to change. And we'll go see. Again, we're on an inner bay here, but this is Lake Michigan. This is the second largest, I guess, of the Great Lakes. And it is connected to Lake Huron. Um, they won't be online. No, but I can tell you that I'll be in Ireland in April, and it's people from, thanks, Daddy, people from this university who are coming to Ireland with me. I'm totally coming back in the summer, Kate. Um, I just am always amazed when I stand at bodies of water like this and look out, and it's fresh water. I mean, it is just a remarkable formation, isn't it? Um, but boy, oh boy, do you feel like the cold is going right through my gloves right now. So it's a whole different thing. So I'm just waiting to get across the street. Um, yeah, I've seen pictures of that Mackinac Bridge. Even in Saginaw, there's a fabulous bridge. But again, just so flat. Down on the other side. This side, there's a lot more texture, clearly to the state. But like I say, I mean, it's fun to share this with everyone. I would be more than happy when I was with these educators. Just I showed them the gimbal and I was telling them about the virtual tours, and I said if anybody wants me to hook them up with them, I'd be more than happy to. Thanks, Diane, because there's so much to explore in these places, and there's really interesting history. There are about 200,000 people who still identify as Indigenous here in the state, which was an interesting, quite a small statistic in my mind, given how historically important this was. Thanks, Anna Marie. Oh, JV, that whole Upper Peninsula area is fascinating. And check out the sand here. So again, the dunes. So we're going to be going up this peninsula here. If you do scan out on the map, you'll see how deep these bays are. But there I am on the edge. Daddy, it's fun to share with the road trip. And you see the big ships out here. Sorry, I'm missing out here? Top five, sorry, I'm missing one. But yeah, I just love the fact though that everyone in Michigan puts their hand like this because there's the thumb where I'm going out tomorrow. So I'm over here right now. And it's just this perfect, and everyone just kind of dots themselves out. And if you want to have a look around, um, then you could almost take a gander, huh? You could be a Michigander. Boy, this is, thanks, Kathleen. This is frozen down here. I just about wiped out there, so I'm going to be a little careful walking on the sand. But obviously, thanks, Betty. Obviously, this storm just blew in. Yeah, that's right. Um, Denise, I don't know. I'm the so um, the executive director of the department who's hosting me. Her husband's taking me out there tomorrow, so I'm going to go out wherever they take me. It's so much fun um, just being kind of a tourist here, and it's interesting. Thanks, Lynn, for I feel so fortunate. Of course, I get to travel so much of the world, but yeah, it's just nice to, and and I've been over to their house for dinner and hanging out with the kids and having fun conversations. So it is neat. Um, but I'm really looking forward. It is a role reverse. It is, Helen. But I am looking really forward to getting down to Detroit as well. I mean, I'm interested in Detroit, like I think so many people are, for lots of reasons. It's a city that's gone through a massive transition. And then when I do go over to Windsor, of course, I think I have to just walk along the waterfront and look back across. Do you know if you fly south of Detroit, the first country you come to is Canada? I think that's statistically a fascinating thing. So, no, mais merci, Alem. I'm used to having a lot more. Thanks, Beth. A lot more in the way of facts and everything to offer everyone. But obviously, as a quite transparently, it's my first time here, and I'm just finding it just interesting and friendly. The architecture is also really interesting. The Mackinac, it's the Mackinac Straits and the Mackinac Bridge, right? So yeah, Windsor, south of Detroit, exactly. So you fly south from Detroit and you fly to Canada, fly over Canada, which is pretty cool. Sorry, what are you asking? Uh, oh no, this is all in English. Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I yesterday, say we were talking about educational systems in the world and all that, and there was only one person in the group who had been outside of the United States. So that's why it's kind of fun to come and share some of these exchanges and talks with people. It's an interesting thing. But also I think we were going for lunch yesterday, and they said to me, "Oh, we're going to take you for good sushi," because of course that's kind of. And I said, "No way! I want to go to an American diner." And we went to sort of an Irish pub, and the owner sat down with us, and it's just that kind of hospitality and warmth. Um, yeah, they say, Mary, that about 60% of Americans don't have a passport still. Look at me. I should probably not jaywalk in the middle of a state. I don't know what the rules are here. But also you do see, I wouldn't say I've been aware of kind of disadvantaged people economically, but you definitely do see some fairly rundown homes. Then you see some really, really cool architecture because of the wood. And yeah, you could do the land crossings with the enhanced driver's license, but you can't fly in. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, listen, I am I am due to meet up with these people who very kindly said, "Go ahead, do a virtual tour." But really, I'm here with them, and it's so nice to be hosted. So, but it's lovely to share with all of you. Thank you for coming to Traverse City with me. Well, it's fun, Diane, and say I did put up a morning tour on Monday because right around the back of the hotel, the Saginaw River's frozen, so I thought it might be a really nice kind of sunrise walk to do. And I am so thank you. It's to Monday. So Monday I'm giving a talk in the morning, and then I'm getting a private tour of Lansing, of the capital of Michigan. Literally, they've organized a private tour, and so then I'm going to give you all a tour. Um, I don't think I'll be able to do it inside the capital, but I think like that's pretty neat. Hey, it's pretty lovely and kind of everyone. So hey, merci, David. So yeah. I mean, it's fun. Well, thanks, Mike. It's again there's lots of places where they're brewing beers out here and doing that kind of thing as well, but it is wine country, so I'll maybe try and take a bottle home with me. But the thing is, I don't need to because everyone keeps giving me gifts, and so I'm going to end up with things to, to take home. Super generous people here. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say, give you one little map of where we are actually. Um, Yeah, so I'm at the Saginaw Valley State University. That's been very interesting for me, of course, because I come from a public education system, and I was interested to learn that really about 95% of their funding comes from private. So you do well. People around the world are just good, right? Give them a chance. But when we come from such a diverse environment, like the fellow who's going to be driving me around tomorrow, French and Irish background. I mean, we have so much in common. But so it's neat. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say peace and love. Okay, Cindy, I will get a. Oh, I'm also going to eat walleye, Cindy, while I'm here. I saw it on the menu yesterday, but I had to have like a classic American burger. So everyone, all the very best. À très bientôt, les amis. It's bye, everyone. Thanks, Michelle. So it's nice to connect with all of you. Thanks for coming up to Traverse City, Michigan with me. Thanks, everyone. All right, I'm gonna go find where my friends are, and I'm gonna warm up a little bit because it's cold. uh, but it's so nice, and thank you all of you who are from Michigan for welcoming me here. And those of you around the Detroit area, I put up a tour on whatever day I put it up in the afternoon. So if you want to come and join me on that tour, you'd be more than welcome to. So it would be lovely to meet up and hang out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see you. I know it's a different goal. It's a human thing. So all right, all the very best, everyone. Thank you. Right. Bye bye.